I mean, most of the teachers' papers are with the students, and that's how they get incentive and they carry on this field. So, I mean, if we just leave them in a vacuum, they won't carry on. And of course, we have no jobs in the museums at the moment, but there are many museums coming up, and I'm sure that there will be jobs. There will be students and projects, there will be jobs, of course, and I'm very much positive about it. So we need teachers' help in this, and they have to do this. Thank you.
I think, thanks. We'll take another question from, please introduce yourself.
My name is Tahira Abdullah and I'm from Islamabad. Niloufar, before I get to my question, if you just give me half a minute or a few seconds, I'd just like to say that in the prevailing context of extremism and religious fundamentalism, shall we say, for want of a more appropriate word, anybody who chooses to study and practice the fine arts, painting, sculpture, and all the rest, deserves our sincere appreciation and commendation, because you're a brave lot to have carried on since 1977 in the kind of atmosphere, stifling atmosphere we had. You're a very brave lot.
No, anarchy is good for the arts.
Yeah, priceless, yeah.
Anarchy is good for an artist.
Absolutely.
We breed off of it.
My point, Niloufar, is for this is probably a question to the whole panel, which is that why have we not succeeded in making art, the study of art and art history, part of the national curriculum right from class 1? Because many of us treat art as some kind of an extracurricular, co-curricular activity. In fact, it's denigrated to a hobby. Until we and I'm sorry, I don't want to use, sort of value judgmental words, but until it is elevated to the status of a curriculum subject, we will continue asking questions like how relevant is art history? Thank you.
I totally agree with you that it's the importance that art gets, and I think art history is further marginalized. I think maybe one of you would like to answer this. Rizwan, would you like to take this?
I think we should dismantle compulsory schooling and have homeschooling.
You have another view, see?
I'm with John Taylor Gatto on this. Yeah.
No, let me answer this question, because I am in HEC's curriculum committee as well. And when we discuss new subjects in the curriculum committee, they say we have no teachers. I tell them you have to teach it, then you will have the teachers. But they don't, because they're not with them,
I'm also part of that curriculum committee, and one of the things is that in that committee, or people who call the shots in that committee, may not agree with art history. History is okay, but history as a discipline is fine. But the moment you bring in the art angle, they say this is against the view, religion. Then somehow, somewhere religion seeps in. I don't know how, but it always does. And I've been seeing it for the last 9 years. Every year, it's the same story.
I think it's also about building public opinion, because I think our colleagues here, as Asma and Taimur have said, that there is a resistance to art and art history. But then, as people sitting here, can we make a difference? I see a lot of journalists here. I see a lot of other people engaged with the arts and with society, in different fields of society. It's about building the opinion, the public opinion. And I'll tell you one thing, it's not usually the higher education commission that is going to initiate these things. It is the passionate people behind it. It is when you know it is integral to art, when you know we cannot do without it because it documents our entire 60 plus years, that we will push it. So I think we need a combination of everyone. And believe me, I always say this, that the people sitting here are not disempowered. Because you can go and get an art history book, you can read it, and you can understand it. And that is how the art historians then will be encouraged to write. Because once these books start selling, then Oxford University Press is going to start printing them more frequently among other publishers. So the thing is, there is a cycle, and we have to then, if we feel strongly, we have to become a part of that invigorating group.
Yeah, I would say we have to take it into our own hands. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
How long are we going to wait and sit around for somebody to do something for us? For the government institute to preserve art history or whatever. The reason why, do we need the government institute to preserve forests? No, we need to stop sitting on furniture. I mean, empower yourselves. It's
Yes,
all in your
absolutely.
own hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you don't need anyone to tell you, come and educate you. You can educate
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely.
You can choose what you wish to educate your children in, and there's so many resources.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a.
Let's not wait for a messiah. Let's just do it, yeah?
I agree with you, the public school, but the fact is this, if we start in the private schools or wherever we can, it's not about public schools or private schools, wherever we can, if the passion is there, then slowly things will fall into place. There's another question over here. You had one? Okay. Can we have the mic here, please? Yes, Durya. No, there's one over there, then I'll come back.
I just want to clarify, although the government gets,
Is it on?
can you hear me without?
No, I think a lot of people may not be able to, they'll help you put it on.
Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Um,
I think we give the government a lot of time, rightly so. But actually, when I investigated, I found that right from the beginning,
art as a discipline, it
in fact, proposed for, it's available at both
metric, inter, BA, and at that time, and MA level, including Punjab University and all the main universities. It's the schools that don't give it priority, and it's the parents who don't give it priority.
Yes.
And recently there was, I forget exactly the years, but they had a huge 4-year program in which they redid all the curricula from primary to HSC, in which they invited artists and art teachers from all over Pakistan. There were about 50 people at least representing the arts. They redid the syllabus, including from primary onwards, as a very serious subject, giving it the same, it's just not implemented by the schools.
Okay.
So I think we should think of that. And as well, I'd like to say HEC regularly holds curriculum revision of fine art faculty, and in their committee they've now created a fine art chair. So I think the efforts are there. It's the parents who hold back the children.
So thank you, Durya. So it goes back to the society, that if we want it, we will push for it. Can we have the mic here, please? Excuse me.
Daniel.
There's a question over here, Daniel. Can we just have that and we'll just go in sequence? Is that the young man's name is Daniel?
Daniel.
Daniel, can we have it here? Right there behind Romana. Speak up.
My name is Vahida Baloch.
Vahida, I think the mic's not working.
My name is Vahida Baloch, and
You have to stand up and like throw your voice a little.
my name is Vahida Baloch, and I recently graduated from Stockholm University in curating. So I just wanted to comment on the museum thing, that it's the responsibility of a museum actually, because I have been studying with some subjects about audience, and the responsibility of the museum is to teach children, and they all have education department in their premises, and they all work on a curriculum which is specially designed for children. It's not their responsibility of the schools actually, but museums invite, most of the time we have been engaged in those kind of projects. So, and one more thing that I want to include about art history, that art history is not actually what you said about art through the ages. It is really dated and all over the world. And when you talk about art through the ages, you have to see the debate in the West. It's already on the peak about Asian arts and about post-colonial, and post-colonial is also very much criticized by many authors, and so I don't see any critical analysis of art history, whatever is written in Pakistan. So this should be critically analyzed, or this is the reason that art history is not growing in our country, because nobody is writing about history of history. So this is
Actually, Sayyid Hassan Askari Sahab has written extensively on art history, criticizing modernism and postmodernism from a Guénonian traditionalist perspective for many years. So there has been some writing, not very much, but there's not that much writing on anything.
and also aesthetics. There is lack of aesthetics. You teach art history without theory.
Yeah.
So this is a big problem. When you don't understand art, so how could it be possible that you understand history? These were
And yeah, about the museums, we do have an education program for schools, but what they do when they go back, like I bring them in, I do so much hard work with children, and even I did a semester work with the Visual Studies, Karachi University, and they were attached with me for a semester, and they brought out very good results, and few of them I took as interns, and they are working with me, and the ones who were interested in, so they are working with me, and they help me a lot in establishment of the museums, and especially in the graphics. So 2-3 have gone abroad. I mean, when they achieve something, they go abroad. That's another issue. But you see, we have education program in the museum. They come in, and I have a program for disabled children even, and we try to teach them, although I don't have any expertise, but I take help of these children. Yeah, sure, you're most welcome. And the thing is that when they go back, like I was saying, they do a project, but it's never published. They don't give me a copy. So we have to continue that process. You see, it disrupts and it discontinues. That is what I'm saying, that we need a collaboration with the art institutes and the museum. So that's how we can carry on. That's the only issue I'm talking about. And you're most welcome to come to my museum and help me out.
No, I think this is really interesting. I mean, for me, it always comes down to who writes the history. I remember doing my thesis, and there was tremendous research done on Mughal gardens by Elizabeth Monahan, but she came to the conclusion that unlike Versailles, the Mughal garden was just used for the pleasure of the emperor. This kind of orientalist, romantic view of South Asia. That these people were just, So, and all the evidence pointed, all of her own research pointed in another direction. So, who writes your histories? Is it coming from this orientalist perspective, post-colonial, whatever you want to call it? Who is writing? And that's why it's so heartening to see any kind of organic growth over here. So perhaps we have a voice in our own history.
There's a question.
Yes, I think the topic was how relevant is art history, and we have veered off into teaching art history, when maybe the relevance has not been established. In any case, history is always noted for what is left out more than what is put in. So who will write the history will politicize the whole situation. So why would artists want to do that, number one? Is politicize the whole situation by saying, okay, we are going to start in 1947 and call it Pakistani art history, when why would you confine it to national boundaries, for instance? Number one. Number two, I have a very strong opposition to saying things like Islamic art. I do not agree with the term.
What about Renaissance? Do you have any problems with the Renaissance?
No, I do not. I do not. But I do have problems with physical boundaries, yes. Because when they talk of Islamic art, then they talk about it's pre-medieval art as such. Huh?
Yeah.
But Islamic art is practiced in all Islamic countries,
Yes.
for example.
No such
so
thing
there,
as
there
Islamic
shouldn't
art,
be.
yeah.
There
So
isn't
I
any
think
such thing as
No.
Islamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this
No.
is a term that has been coined and used, used so often.
till we
to-
get another term
Yes.
for it.
So can the artists tell us, art historians and art, okay, when we write the history of, say, art practiced here, are we going to start in 1947? Or are we going to, when are we going to start? Can we confine it to national boundaries?
We had
Because this is
parts
what,
of
this is the point that Nilüfer
can't.
brought in.
तैमूर आपके यहाँ किस
Yes.
तरह पढ़ाते हैं इस तरह?
You know,
And who leads it
Yeah.
out?
I mean, this it
Just
varies.
one more
It varies
point,
from
please.
institute to
varies.
institute how it's
Can
we have one
this
person?
problem is tackled. It varies. So
Yeah.
One more point, you know, the history of the world has been better served by literature. This is a literary festival. So how about using literature to serve your art history?
We do have we do use literature to teach art history, a lot of literature. In fact, we have a course which is called Literature Design, which is for art history writing. So we take literary sources and then we evaluate history according to that.
But I think Akila raises an interesting point, that where do we start our art history from 1947? And I think taking the cue from art historians like Akbar Naqvi, Amjad Ali, who has put together an anthology, and Ijazul Hassan, one must say that I think you can take, build it up to 1947, and then from 1947, obviously, a radical political change did take place, and that did feed into the new perspectives that came into, art. Particularly at that time, the modernism was a part of that progressive movement, which was also in literature. So I think when we sort of move together, we have to take into consideration the changes. When there was an exodus from India, people came and moved here and then created their own art. It was different from the art post 1947 of India and of other countries that finally emerged. Like if you look at Bangladeshi art after 1971, then that is very different from what Pakistan's trajectory has been since 1971. So I think this kind of historical events do feed into the history of that region and the art.